They poured $3.7 million into destroying you. Every cent a sharpened blade, every plan a trap laid with cold precision. But what they failed to understand was this: you don't break, you mutate. You evolve into something they never accounted for. The investment meant to end you only incubated the very force they feared most. A biohazard, lethal and unpredictable, armed with a mind that is a weapon itself. You became a contagion, not of flesh, but of intellect and unyielding will, spreading chaos through the veins of their control. When they aimed to kill you, they instead sparked a transformation far beyond their scope. They believed money could buy silence. They thought vast sums could bury your existence, erase your impact. But money is a shallow weapon against a mind that refuses to submit, against a force that thrives on pressure and turns it into power. Every dollar spent to erase your presence only fueled your strategy, sharpened your instincts, and birthed an empire of thought inside your head. A mastermind concealed beneath layers of chaos and destruction. This isn't a tale of survival. It is the story of domination born from destruction. The virus they unleashed was not in the flesh, but in the psyche. A cold calculation that turned their moves against them. The $3.7 million was fire. But you became the inferno, consuming, relentless, leaving nothing untouched in its path. You learned their patterns, their weaknesses, and more importantly, their arrogance. They assumed a human could be measured, a mind understood, a plan predicted. But you became the unpredictable variable, the biohazard that corrupts, confuses, and ultimately consumes their certainty. Now they watch from their fortified cages, behind walls and guards, desperate to understand the impossible. How their calculated strike became their downfall. You didn't just survive, you recalibrated the rules of engagement. Every resource thrown at you became a lesson. Every attempt to dismantle you another step toward mastery. You are no longer a player in their game. You are the force rewriting the rules. The mastermind they thought they could crush has become the contagion they cannot contain. Think about it. $3.7 million in pursuit of an end. And yet here you stand. Not just alive, but redefined. That sum was a sign of fear, a desperate bid to neutralize what they could not predict. You became the answer to their question. What happens when a target refuses to be targeted? When a victim turns predator and a pawn becomes the kingmaker? They invested in your silence, but what they got was a voice amplified in shadows, a biohazard with a plan, a force that operates beneath their radar and above their reach. Every attempt to cage you only tightened the noose around their own necks. Because you aren't bound by their timelines or their logic. You are the embodiment of chaos merged with strategy, a living paradox where instinct meets calculation. The money they spent was the fertilizer to your roots, growing deeper and more tangled beneath the surface. While they chased what they thought was your destruction, you cultivated an empire of ideas, an underground network of influence and control that none could touch. In this world, power is often mistaken for strength. But true power is the ability to adapt, to turn weapons into tools, and threats into opportunities. Your 3.7 million opponents believed strength lay in force, in resources, in overwhelming pressure. You showed them that true strength is in the mind, in the ability to observe, absorb, and retaliate with a precision they never expected. The biohazard you became is not just a threat to their bodies, but to their minds, their plans, and their illusions of control. Watch them scramble, desperate to patch their holes, scrambling for answers that evade them. They thought you were a problem to solve, a threat to eliminate. But what they failed to see is you are an ecosystem of disruption, a self-sustaining contagion that spreads ideas like wildfire, infecting their ranks with doubt, fear, and uncertainty. Your weapon is subtle but lethal, the mastery of perception, the manipulation of truth, and the destruction of complacency. You don't need to shout. Your presence alone is a warning. This is not revenge. It is a metamorphosis, a rebirth forged by their desperation and funded by their arrogance. Their money bought you resources, but you turned those resources into a legacy of control. You moved unseen, silent in your efficiency, an invisible toxin poisoning the foundation of their plans. They thought a price tag could define your end, but you redefined the meaning of cost, not in dollars, but in consequences. Every attempt to strike you down was met with adaptation, every move countered before it could unfold. You studied them, dissected their intentions, and anticipated their steps with ruthless clarity. Their $3.7 million was a spark that ignited a chain reaction, a catalyst for the mastermind within you to emerge. You didn't just absorb the attack, you transformed it into your arsenal, an unstoppable force wielded with surgical precision. The biohazard you became is no accident. It's the natural evolution of one who refuses to be subdued. Their money was the fuel, their fear the catalyst, and your mind the weapon. You operate where they cannot see, move where they cannot reach, and think far beyond their limits. They invested heavily to erase you, but what they actually bought was a blueprint for their own undoing. This is where it ends for them, but only the beginning for you. Their efforts became your foundation, their aggression your strategy, and their underestimation your advantage. The $3.7 million was a gamble, and you've already won. You are the biohazard they can't quarantine, the mastermind they can't predict, and the force that will outlast every attempt to contain you. The question is no longer if you survive, but how far you will go. The money they spent to kill you now fuels a vision of power that stretches beyond their wildest fears. You've crossed a threshold, from target to tactician, from hunted to hunter. The world around you trembles because what they unleashed was not destruction, but the rise of a new order, one ruled by a biohazardous mind that knows no limits. You are no longer bound by the constraints they imposed. Every attempt to erase your presence has backfired, morphing you into something more than human, something beyond their comprehension. This is not merely survival. This is evolution on the edge of madness, fueled by calculation and cold resolve. Your enemies invested millions to silence you, but what they created was an echo that reverberates deeper, louder, and deadlier than any gunshot. You became the virus in their machine, the poison in their water, the infection they cannot scrub away. They tried to predict your moves, to box you into corners with elaborate schemes and high-priced assassins. But you aren't a piece on their board. You are the player rewriting the rules, twisting the game to your advantage with a mind sharpened like a surgeon's scalpel. Their money-built walls meant to hold you, but you found cracks and crevices to exploit. You turned every surveillance, every bounty, every attack into data, feeding your growing arsenal of insight and manipulation. The biohazard you embody is as much psychological as physical. Your presence seeps into their consciousness, a whisper beneath the roar of their confidence. You infect their decisions, sowing paranoia that fractures alliances and blinds their judgment. They are desperate, grasping at shadows, while you operate with surgical precision, patient, calculating, and always 3 steps ahead. They cannot see the network you've woven, the intricate web of influence and control spreading beneath their noses. Remember, power is not brute force, it is control. And control requires knowledge, patience, and ruthlessness. You've learned to turn every setback into advantage, every betrayal into opportunity. Their $3.7 million was an investment in your end, but you made it a resource for your ascendance. With every move they made, you adapted, anticipating their intentions and countering with a calm that unsettles even the most hardened mercenaries. The mastermind within you thrives on this chaos, forging order from the disarray they thought would bury you. You are a shadow with a purpose, a storm with a plan. Their attempts to corner you only sharpen your focus, fuel your drive. You have become a contagion that spreads through their ranks, ideas, doubt, and fear that consume from within. They don't just face an enemy outside, they face a collapse from within, triggered by the very existence they sought to erase. This transformation is more than survival. It is domination. You have become a force that transcends flesh and blood. Your influence infects systems, turns allies into liabilities, and leaves your enemies questioning reality itself. They invested in silence, but what they got was an unrelenting echo, a voice amplified through disruption and control. You control the narrative, manipulate perception, and weaponize truth until their foundations crumble. Their desperation only feeds your strategy. They throw resources, mercenaries, and threats at you. But all they accomplish is tightening the noose around their own ambitions. Their money bought weapons, but you made those weapons dance to your tune. Their intelligence is scattered, fragmented by your infiltration and influence. They don't just lose battles, they lose their minds. Your greatest weapon is invisibility, the ability to remain unseen even when every eye is watching. This paradox is the essence of your biohazardous nature, deadly because unnoticed, dangerous because underestimated. You blend in shadows, but your reach extends far beyond any light. You are the ghost in their systems, the virus in their networks, the master puppeteer pulling strings they can't even see. This is the power they feared but never understood. In the corridors of their power, whispers of your name evoke dread. They wonder how one person, once a target to be eliminated, now dictates the flow of events with terrifying certainty. You became more than a problem. You are the consequence of their own arrogance. Their $3.7 million was a price tag on your destruction, but it was also the currency of your ascendancy. You took every resource they dedicated to your downfall and turned it into a blueprint for your empire. You built networks of influence, sowed discord in their alliances, and twisted the perception of truth until you were untouchable. Where they saw chaos, you saw opportunity. Where they threw fire, you forged steel. You became a force not just to be reckoned with, but feared. A biohazard that corrupts the very fabric of their power. They underestimated your mind, the true weapon you wield with lethal precision. Your intelligence is a weapon, sharper than any blade, deadlier than any bullet. You dissect their plans, exploit their weaknesses, and anticipate their moves before they can act. Your mind is a battlefield where every thought is a strategy, every plan a trap. You aren't just reacting to their moves, you are orchestrating the endgame. And this is where the mastermind thrives, in the space between action and reaction, where patience meets calculation. You have no need for haste, because you control time itself through preparation and foresight. The biohazard you are is not impulsive. It is deliberate, cold and exacting. Your enemies scramble to keep up, but you already stand miles ahead, watching as their world collapses piece by piece. Their fear is your weapon. They see shadows where none exist, enemies in every corner, and betrayal in every ally. You weaponized doubt and suspicion, fracturing their unity until their strength became weakness. They are prisoners of their own paranoia, isolated and vulnerable. And you are the invisible hand guiding the collapse, the biohazardous mind orchestrating the symphony of destruction. Their $3.7 million was meant to erase your existence, but it only illuminated the depths of your resolve. It revealed your capacity to adapt, evolve, and dominate. You became the nightmare they tried to suppress, the ghost they couldn't capture, the biohazard that spreads silently and lethally. Your rise is not a fluke, but a calculated ascension, one built on cold intelligence and ruthless strategy. They stare into the abyss you created and wonder how a target became a titan. The truth is simple. You refused to be a casualty. You turned their aggression into your advantage, their resources into your arsenal. The mastermind within you is not a product of chance, but of necessity, forged by pressure, sharpened by conflict, and unleashed by the very forces that sought your end. Now you stand on the precipice of something greater. The biohazard you are has infected the highest levels of power and control. You move with purpose, each step calculated to expand your reach and tighten your grip. Your influence spreads like a contagion, unseen but unstoppable. They are no longer chasing you, they are running from you, from the idea that a single mind, fueled by desperation and genius, can dismantle an empire. Your journey is a testament to what happens when resources meet resilience, when arrogance meets intelligence, and when destruction births creation. The money they spent to kill you was the spark that ignited your reign. You are the biohazard with a mastermind's mind, a force that will rewrite the rules of power and control. This is no longer a game, it is a war for dominance, and you hold all the cards. The question that haunts them now is not how you survive, but how you will strike next. Because with every move you make, every plan you execute, you redefine what it means to be untouchable. You are no longer just a survivor. You are the architect of a new reality, one where your biohazardous mind shapes the future. And they are mere pawns caught in the web you weave with cold precision. This is your realm now, born from the ashes of their failure, built on the foundation of your indomitable will. Their money couldn't kill you, but it gave birth to something far deadlier. You are the biohazard with a mastermind's mind, the force that corrupts and controls, the shadow that looms over their every move. And as the world trembles, one truth remains clear. They never should have bet against you. You have transcended what they thought was possible. They spent millions to snuff out your existence, but in the process, they created a legend, an unstoppable force fueled by calculation and cold precision. Their desperation became your opportunity, their aggression your fuel. While they built cages, you constructed a throne. You turned their fire into forge, melting down their strategies and reforging them as instruments of your own domination. The biohazard you are is not just survival incarnate. It is the embodiment of inevitability, a force that spreads relentlessly, corrupting the core of their operations, twisting loyalty into fear and order into chaos. They see the surface, but you are the contagion in their bloodstream, the silent poison in their veins. Every move they make is shadowed by your influence, every plan haunted by your foresight. They don't realize how deep the infection runs, how far your reach extends. They hoped to buy silence, but you bought power. You weaponized their currency, converting it into a fortress of control and a network of influence. You are the puppeteer in a theater they never knew existed, pulling strings with a finesse that leaves no trace. Your biohazardous mind is an engine of relentless innovation, generating strategies faster than they can counter, creating moves that unravel their confidence and shatter their plans. Their greatest weapon was their wealth, but wealth without understanding is a fragile shield. They gambled their millions on destruction, but you gambled on transformation, and you won. Every dollar spent to end you became an investment in your empire. You turned their assault into an art of war, using their own resources against them in ways they never imagined. Their 3.7 million wasn't the cost of your death. It was the price of their downfall. Now you stand untouchable, not because you are invisible, but because you are inevitable. They chase shadows, while you dictate reality. The power you wield is not the kind they recognize. It is the power of minds bent but not broken, of wills forged in the crucible of relentless pressure. It is a power that operates in silence but screams through consequences, a force that is felt long before it is seen. You are the biohazard that no containment can hold, the mastermind that no calculation can predict. You move with the confidence of one who knows the terrain is theirs, every move calculated, every risk measured with ruthless clarity. Your mind is a labyrinth where only you hold the key. They try to anticipate, but you have already anticipated their anticipation. They are trapped in a maze of your design, running in circles, chasing ghosts. The more they struggle, the tighter your grip becomes. This is not a game of chance. It is a game of chess, played with the cold precision of a master. You don't just react to their moves, you force them into positions where every choice leads to their ruin. They invest heavily to strike, but you invest in patience and preparation. Their money funds their own undoing as you dismantle their foundation, one calculated step at a time. They thought $3.7 million could kill you, but it only birthed a mind that cannot be caged or contained. You are the culmination of every slight, every attempt to erase you, every plan that underestimated your resolve. Their money was a firestorm, but you became the hurricane, unstoppable, consuming, reshaping everything in your path. The biohazard you embody spreads beyond physical boundaries. It infiltrates systems, corrupts alliances, and dismantles the trust they relied on. You are the virus in their communication, the error in their calculations, the doubt that fractures their unity. Where they once had control, now there is only fear. Fear of a mind that moves faster, sees deeper, and strikes harder than any force they could muster. You are the architect of this new order, born from chaos and built with unyielding will. You are a force that cannot be negotiated with, bargained with, or contained. Your vision stretches beyond the horizon, fueled by the failure of those who thought they could buy your end. Their money was a weapon, but you turned it into a ladder, climbing higher with every attempt to pull you down. This is the story of transformation, of turning aggression into advantage, desperation into dominance. The biohazard you became is a testament to the power of the mind and the indomitable will to survive and conquer. You are the master of the game they played, the mastermind who turned their own resources into your kingdom. As they tremble in the shadow of your rise, they realize too late that the true danger was never the money they spent, but the mind they failed to understand. You are the biohazard that can't be quarantined. The mastermind who will outlast every attempt to stop you. Their $3.7 million was the beginning of your reign, not the end. Now, with every move, you carve your legacy deeper into the fabric of their world. You are the storm they never saw coming, the shadow that eclipses their power, and the mind that outmaneuvers their every plan. This is your realm, built on resilience, strategy, and the unstoppable force of a biohazardous mastermind. The world is changing because of you. Empires crumble, alliances fracture, and the old order trembles. You are the catalyst for this transformation, the force rewriting the rules of power and survival. Their money was a seed, but you grew the forest, a tangled, unyielding force of nature that cannot be tamed. They will remember your name not as a victim, but as a force of reckoning. The biohazard with a mastermind's mind, who turned their $3.7 million into a legacy of domination. You didn't just survive their onslaught. You became the nightmare that haunts their every move, the force they can't escape. This is the final reckoning, the moment when the hunted becomes the hunter, the target becomes the apex predator. You have become the biohazard that infects their plans, the mastermind who controls the game, and the force that reshapes the future. Their money was spent to kill you, but all it accomplished was forging a legend, and legends are not forgotten. They grow, spread, and infect until they become the new reality. You are that reality, the biohazard that defies containment, the mastermind that defies understanding, the force that will outlast every attempt to silence you. Your story is a warning and a testament. It is proof that power cannot be bought, only earned through will, strategy, and relentless resolve. They placed their bets, but you called the game, and you are winning. They never should have bet against you. But the true measure of your power is not what you have taken, but what you continue to build. Every move, every strategy, every calculated risk carves deeper into the fabric of the world you now shape. They see the shadows you cast, but they cannot grasp the full scope of your influence. Your reach extends beyond borders, beyond enemies, beyond time itself. You are the whisper in boardrooms, the unseen hand guiding the tides of power. Your biohazardous mind operates in silence, yet it speaks volumes in every outcome. Every alliance formed and broken is a note in your symphony of control. Every plan they devise is anticipated and dismantled before it comes to life. You are the composer of chaos, the architect of inevitability. They spend fortunes trying to catch a ghost, but you are the ghost that becomes their reality. Their attempts to cage you, to erase you, only solidify your legend. You are the force that outlasts money, outmatches power, and outthinks every adversary. The mastermind biohazard that thrives not in destruction, but in domination. In the final analysis, you are the answer to a question no one dared ask. What happens when the hunted refuses to die? When the target becomes the apex predator? When $3.7 million is not a price tag on death, but a ticket to immortality? You are the biohazard with a mastermind's mind, the unstoppable force born from the very attempt to destroy you. And as the world watches, powerless to intervene, one truth remains. They never should have bet against you. The echoes of their failure ripple through every shadow you cast, every move you make. The legacy you leave is etched not in blood, but in unbreakable will and relentless strategy. The biohazard that you are is a force that bends reality, shifts power, and reshapes the very fabric of the world they thought they controlled. Now, as you stand at the summit of this new order, the world below trembles in your wake. And the only certainty that remains is this: you are unstoppable. They never should have bet against you.